Greetings, First United Methodist Church family. I would like to take a few minutes and follow up on the announcement that was made in Sunday's online worship service concerning the resumption of in-person worship on June 14th. Yes, we will be resuming in-person worship on Sunday, June 14th. And I've got to say that the decision to resume in-person worship has been far more difficult than the decision that was made on March 15th to cease in-person worship. The church's task force has met several times, multiple times each week, since Governor Hutchinson and the Arkansas Department of Health issued guidelines for churches on May 4th. We've considered how we would implement those guidelines. We've also considered the stage guidance for in-person gatherings from our bishop and the Arkansas Annual Conference. And we have considered all that you shared in your responses to the survey so many of you completed last week. We received 77 responses, which represents 147 people who regularly attend worship at FUMC. Now, if you consider that our regular worship attendance pre-pandemic was in the 170 to 180 range most Sundays, well, that's quite a response. And you overwhelmingly told us, 90% of you who completed the survey have told us that you desire to return either immediately or within the next 3 to 6 weeks. We're also heartened that the fact that 84% of you are willing to follow the guidelines issued by the governor, which we outlined in the survey and will require social distancing and the wearing of face masks by all over the age of 10 while in the church building for worship. Now, we know that not all of you are ready to return to in-person worship. And one of the questions that we've received from a number of you has been whether or not we will continue to provide an online worship experience. And the answer is yes. We will continue to offer online worship for the foreseeable future. Now, it may change over time, and we found that many of you, that this is a meaningful means of engagement, so we want to continue it. Now, if we are going to resume worship on June 14th, which is just 3 weeks away, we all have a lot of work to do. First, we need your prayers. The staff and the task force, we need you to be praying for us daily. Pray for that all of the plans and the supplies needed will be made possible. And second, we need everyone to practice two things: sacrifice and flexibility. We're all going to be asked to sacrifice some of our comfort and preferences in order to gather again in worship in person. For example, I don't know of anyone who really likes to wear a face mask, but it's what we all will need to do. Not to protect ourselves, but to protect one another. This is where we have an opportunity to live out Jesus' words of love thy neighbor. We know just by the statistics that there are far more people who are carrying the virus that exhibit no symptoms than those that do. And so we need to do what we can to protect one another, even if it means sacrificing our own comfort for a while. Flexibility is going to be key as well. In order for us to resume in-person worship, we will need many of you to take on volunteer roles to assist in ushering people into worship and sanitizing the sanctuary after worship. Now, traditionally, we have loved packing people in at Christmas and in Easter and really any time that we worship. But in this time, we are needing to keep our gatherings smaller in size. And we'll need people to be flexible about when they come to worship. We may ask some of you to come to worship at a time other than when you have worshiped in the past, and in order for us to meet the demand and the capacity for smaller gatherings. All of our worship gatherings, just so you know, all of our worship gatherings will be the same, and similar to what you've experienced these past several weeks online. So if we call you and ask you to volunteer or so that we can resume in-person worship, or we ask you to shift to another worship time, please say yes. Better yet, let us know if you're willing to volunteer or your willingness to attend at a different time than usual. And finally, we all look forward to the day when we will resume worshiping and gathering for Sunday school and fellowship time when these restrictions are not necessary. For now, though, let us be the best church we can be, which is a Christ-centered church, a caring community, growing deeper in faith, reaching out in love, and making a difference in the lives of our neighbors near and far. Because there's no place like FUMC.